a lot of good meaning staff and employers because of this particular permit. So I think it's something that we could possibly explore and all of that if we could just continue with the interview. And I was like, but I was just like, it's still not set in stone. So I did the interview. I answered very well. And then I was successful with the interview. They said, of course, they are willing to hire me, but then I got a response back from one of the people, one of the hiring managers. She was like, oh, they don't think they'll be able to support me with the application anymore. They said it's nothing to do with my responses in the interview, that the interview is fine, it's just the employment permit. They are not sure if they'll be able to do that. I was like, damn it, because I felt like I was this close, yeah. So I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I was already, down about it. And then, I was just like, you know what? I now started applying to other places, like applying pressure to other companies, okay? Like putting in my applications. And then, was it not a day after that particular email or it was sent in the morning, and by afternoon time or so I got a response. I think it was a day, I don't know, but I got a response here within a short period of time. I think it was that same day. And then they said, oh, Cynthia, good news, we've been able to speak to the directors, and then they are open to exploring the possibility of doing an employment permit. I was like, yes, no problem. And then they gave me the clause. They were like, okay, it is going to be on the account that I would be the one to sort out everything. Like sorting out everything would be like, knowing about the application and all of that. You understand? Which is what I pitched in my interview. I asked them, okay, would you be able to do an employment permit for me? And all of that. But one of the other things that I also mentioned was that I know the process. I understand everything about the process. I can help with putting in an application if it is going to be something that is confusing to do. Do you get? Because I already understood the process, okay? So she was like, oh, they need to explore the employment permit and apply for me if I'm going to, like I said initially, like do due diligence to the process, okay? So I was like, yes, no problem. Like, yeah, no problem. I'll just put you step by step. So what I then got to do was give them a breakdown of the steps to follow, okay? So what are the steps now? Which is what some of you that are watching this video, I don't know, maybe looking to know or have an insight of. The employment permit, yeah, you have to do what is called a labor market needs test, okay? Which is just a fancy word to say the job that you're applying for is going to be posted on Jobs Ireland website, and it's going to be there for 28 days unedited, and then the particular link of the job posted, there's a number at the back. That number is what is going to be used in your employment permit application to verify that yes, your job application, the job that you're applying for, the job posting has actually been posted publicly, okay? So I told them I have to do a labor market needs test. These are the steps that you have to follow and all of that. So they supported me with that. They posted the jobs on the platform. They left it on for 28 days. I had the link. I had all of that. The rule then was that either yourself or your employer could apply for an employment permit. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I applied for my employment permit. Obviously, hello. Obviously. When they say, because the rule then was that, oh, either yourself or your employer should apply for the employment permit. And then they said, oh, if you have any third party person, of course, that would be like if you have like an agent, a lawyer, or something like that that could help you with the employment permit. So I opted to do it by myself, like I have done for every other thing. My college application, my everything, myself, okay? So I explored the opportunity to apply for my employment permit myself. So what that meant was that all the documents that was required from for my employer, I had to then upload that in the sections of my employer. I just had what I did was to ask them for, with permission of course, for the documents needed and all of that. Put all of that in my application to submit the application, okay? And then of course also asked for my contract of employment, also asked for their signature on the employment permit documents that would be required. So basically, this is something now. The system now that is in place is that you and your employer have to do it, which I think that to some extent it was me and my employer doing a joint application. Now the system has changed, and it's just so boggling, it's just amazing how in the period of a short while things can change. That's why I always tell people, always avail of an opportunity that you're seeing at present, because policies can change, things can change at any time. So I'm very happy that I was able to explore that, because now it's a bit different, because you and the employer have to do a joint application where the employer will have to put in an application first, like start the application, and then you finish it off, sign, and then send off. Okay. So, but as at the time that when people were doing it by this, or when it was permitted that either you or the employer can submit the application, what I just did was to gather all the necessary documents. I gathered my own documents, also asked my employer that these are the documents that the employment permit need of you, and then they gave me that, and I uploaded that in their stead. Okay, so I uploaded all of that. And then, of course, they've already done, I've waited the time for the labor market needs test for 28 days. So I already had the link. The link comes with the numbers, some set numbers at the back. So I had the numbers of that. I put it in my application, filled the form appropriately, put all my credentials, all my certificates, and every other thing. It's quite simple, actually. I put everything that is required of the employer, and then boom, I submitted and then paid the 1,000 euros. Yes, 1,000 euros is needed for you to submit your employment permit application. So I thankfully have had that saved for backup, because I knew those 2 years was enough for me to prepare for what is ahead. So I had that saved, paid the 1,000 euros, and then submitted. At this point, that was how I submitted my employment permit anyways, So at this point, there was a waiting period, you understand. In the waiting period, I had to inform the Department of Justice of my stand, like I'm waiting at this point and all of that. So, I put in the application when? Was it not December? Early December. Yeah. December, and then just in the nick of time, I don't know, this is also what you mentioned, because I had reached out to the Department of Justice on where I was, and then they had given me a kind of stay for a year just to allow for my application to kick in. And I got the good news letter from the Department of Justice saying that, okay, this is it, these are the terms and the conditions and all of that. I got that a week prior to God. So I got that, no, not a week, I got that like 2 days before I got my employment permit. So I had to now forgo that. You understand? I had to forgo the letter that I got, because I now had my employment permit that I can use to apply for my IRP. So I had two rights to stay in Ireland, something like that, if you want to call it that. So I had two of that, and I had to forgo one for the other. So yeah, and that was how I applied for my employment permit. Okay, so I think that is it really, and I think I would like to say this is some kind of like miracle. I have another video that I want to title "Miracle in My Study Abroad Process," but I think this one was of great miracle, And if anyone is wondering about, like, oh, maybe just doing their own math in their own little corner and wondering about the timelines, so basically my card was due to expire in like December, and I already reached out to the Department of Justice about my application, my application in like October or so, and then their response only came in like January. And with the card expiring, the rule says that if you have your application in, you have like 6 weeks to wait the time in Ireland, something like that. So I waited. I used that 6 weeks grace, and that got me into January. Okay, So I was not, everything was still in legal due process, and I was here in Ireland in January on the 6 weeks timeline, and within the 6 weeks timeline was when I got a response from my employment permit, as well as the letter from the Department of Justice saying that yes, I could stay for X amount of time to allow for my employment
Yeah,
permit
no, because when
application
the guy was like,
to
ah,
kick
what
in.
is this?
So that is basically how
Okay, what
I
is this?
applied for my
I can't
employment
see.
permit.
You not
So
see the
in
bag I
another
found.
video,
This
maybe
one
I
is
will do
not. This
like
one is not the
maybe
box.
showing
I
the
hope she has space to
website
take
or
it.
like how to navigate.
No,
It's going
go
to
and buy the
depend on the
bag.
questions that I get. Okay, so if people are
Should
really
I take
finding
it
it
from my own to put inside?
stuck on like how to go about navigating the website,
Where
then
did she
maybe
come
I will
from?
do a video about that, showing a step-by-step tutorial. But for now, this is it. Okay, so in long and short summary, the takeaway
Today
is
is
that
here.
now you cannot apply
Must
for your
apply your
employment permit
show.
yourself alone. Okay,
Yeah,
it's
just
going to
like
be a joint
so guys, you
application.
take
They
it.
have now moved it to an online system.
I'll do
Okay, before it was also online, but now it's now strictly
I'll do
online
back to
with an online
yesterday.
account. Okay,
Yeah, it's
so
just
now
like
it is that your
that's why
employer
it's
is going to
doing
start the application, and then you would
it.
fill the application will go
So
to your
to
would kind
take
of like
crash
transfer
course,
to
crash
your page on your
course.
employment permit application
You
page,
need to work
and
with me.
then you
That's
go
why
into that application that they have
agenda
started,
for today.
finish the application, and submit with all your credentials, all your uploads, your signature, and all of that. Whoever that has to pay, if it is your employer that has to pay, then they pay. If it is you that have to pay, then you pay. Okay, you pay and then you wait the time, and then there's the employment permit statistics that, sorry, not, it's not statistics, sorry, there's the employment permit processing time that will tell you how long the application is going to take, which should be around 6 to 12 weeks, they usually say. Yeah, so that comes the end of my video. I hope this you found this educational enough. I hope you found this entertaining as well, because it is my own personal story. Yeah, I hope to see you in another video, and that wraps it up. Okay, my name is Cynthia, also known as Cyrilna.